Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. My name is Paul Croto. I'm here with Cheryl Morley.
Hello. Excited to be with you guys today.
Cheryl's excited. Well, there's something to really be excited about. This is episode 73, and we're on leadership. So every Thursday we do leadership here on the Elevate Your Life podcast. And we're talking today, Cheryl, about the ultimate test of leadership.
I like that. I like the ultimate test of leadership. And you know what I like even better is what it is.
What is it?
Well, let me tell you. It is creating positive change in your life and in the lives of others.
Wow.
And I love that. I love that. I mean, could there be any? I mean, that is what our mission is, right?
Yeah.
That's what elevate your life.
Yeah.
That's exactly
we're creating positive change in people's in our lives. And it really starts with becoming. I know Cheryl and I are taking a program right now, an optimizing coaching program about becoming the best version of yourself. So it really starts leadership. The number one thing John says, leadership is number one person to lead is yourself. And that's the biggest leadership challenge is leading yourself.
Right. Well, and it has to start with you, because if it doesn't start with you and you don't do that, and you just go out and start trying to lead people, you don't have anything to give them. Right. That's the way I kind of look at it. And I've been there. That's exactly how I used to be. Before I got on this whole this whole journey with John and doing all the stuff, Paul, you and I've been doing over the last few years, and it's just been fantastic. And you know what? It's your confidence grows, right? Your confidence grows, and then you're able to, to really be of great worth to the people around you and the people who join your team and follow you. So I love the whole idea of creating a positive change in your life so that you can create a positive change in others.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sure goes back to, in past podcasts, we briefly talked about the 6 human needs. We're going to actually make a podcast coming up here in the near future that only talks about the 6 human needs, because it's a fascinating topic. The 2 top needs are growth and contribution. So all of this ultimate test of leadership, creating positive change in your life and the lives of others, starts with the first need, growing yourself. Because you can't give what you don't have. If you can't help the weak if you're not strong. So it's growing yourself and then turning around and contributing to the rest of the world with the things you've learned. So that's what we're about.
Yeah, it really is. And gosh, there's no better feeling, Paul. There's no better feeling than this contribution. And we've talked about this before, how there's so many people with all this money and all these things, and they've got this and they've got that, yet they commit suicide or whatever, because, and I really believe that it comes down to, we were put here to make ourselves better so that we could help others. And if you don't feel like you're contributing, then it doesn't matter what you have. You will not be at peace, or you won't feel fulfilled.
Absolutely. So up to this point in this podcast, Cheryl and I have talked about all the positive, wonderful things about creating change and positive change in people's lives, and our lives are going to change and your lives are going to change. And so Cheryl and I, we do this all the time. We go out there, we're so excited about all this positive change. We don't actually, so just if you haven't done this before, we're going to give you a little warning. Not everyone will embrace the ideas you have as much as you will. So what's the last thing that people want in the world, Cheryl?
Change. And you can't turn anything around without change, right?
Fascinating.
You can't do it. You can't turn anything around without it. And people they fear change, right? They really, I think people really do fear change. I mean, they feel awkward and self-conscious about doing something new. All of us do, right? It's not just the people who don't like change. I don't mind change, Paul. I've never really minded it. I don't, if it's,
Well, again, it goes back to these 6 human needs. So you love variety. So
Yes.
you look at change as being something different. So, and that's
I
a
love
higher need of yours. But there's,
Yeah.
everyone has, we talk about that your mind is not your friend. It's you versus your mind. And your mind wants certainty, which is one of your needs. So to me, there's always this battle in people that, am I going to go for the certainty or am I going to go for the growth? And, you got to decide. And 90% of people put certainty number one, just because
Right.
default, that's where it is. Because your mind wants to protect you. It doesn't want to do anything new or have anything change because you're safe at this moment. And your mind's job is to keep you safe. That's what its number one thought is at all time. Like, ooh, that could be risky. Don't do that. So you got one side of you saying, go for it, do this awesome thing. And then the other side of you saying, what are you, crazy? Like, just stay here and you'll be fine.
Right. And so most people look at change as something that is very painful.
Yeah.
Right. So
because it's moving away from certainty.
Right.
It's something that's, and they feel like when their certainty goes down there, they just feel awkward. Yeah. So I love this next line, Cheryl, that most people feel more comfortable with old problems than new solutions.
Right. That is so crazy to me. That is so crazy. Well, yes, it's true. Yes. And I think also what goes right along with that is people initially focus on what they have to give up or lose instead of what could be absolutely fantastic or wonderful. Right. Yeah. Because yes, there is going to be a change, because if there's, and I'm talking, when I think about this, I'm talking about like a problem or something's not going quite right. Let's take your health, for instance. If your health is not good, you're going to have to make a change. Nothing's going to change without you making a change and being very conscious of the change that you make. So you're going to have to do that. And it might be scary. It might be something that you don't want to do. But instead of thinking about it like you have to give something up, like maybe French fries, then you have to look at it, or I try to coach people in looking at it as what you will gain instead of what you will lose.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, we've had this learned, we've built this muscle inside of us that, yes. It's just, let's just continue to complain about the things that are going on because that's a learned behavior that a lot of people have. And, Cheryl and I, we're all about new solutions and with new thing coming out and this and that. We're all excited. And people just want to keep on talking about these old problems instead of these new solutions. So it's fascinating to me, Cheryl. I mean, we can talk about it now and joke about it, but when you're in this situation, it's not as funny.
Right.
Because people do initially focus on what they have to give up, what they're going to lose.
Well, yeah, but I think that if you're aware that that's probably where your mind's going to go, then I think you're one step ahead of everybody else, because if you're aware of that, then you can counteract and think about like the great changes that could take place.
Yeah, that's what today's podcast is all about. That's why it's so valuable to listen to these, because we are forewarning you what's about to happen. And we're also going to let you know how to fix it. So like you said, Cheryl, because you know that's going to happen. Well, what do we need to do? We need to plan ahead, which Cheryl and I love acronyms. So this was, and I've used this for 20 years. I've heard John teach this, and something I apply to my life all the time in situations. So Cheryl, let's talk about plan ahead and what each of these letters mean. So what does P stand for?
Predetermine the change that is needed.
Yeah, so we talk about this all the time. Cheryl and I promote the RPM system: results, purpose, map. So what is the result that you want? That is the ultimate question to start with. So, we want the result we want is to change this or improve this. So it's so important to know that up front.
Right. And then you need to lay out your steps. So lay out the steps that you're going to take, right? So that you know. Next, you have to adjust your priorities. Right. So
yeah, there's, for change to happen, we're going through our day, we're doing these things in a certain order. We got to change those things, because there's something wrong with the priority list that is causing your team or your organization or your whatever to not make the kind of progress that you want it to.
Right. And then you need to notify key personnel. So you have got to let people know, your influencers, and then the actual people who are going to actually get out in the foxhole there and really make this happen. And that would be, So, and I think letting both of them know and getting them both on board to see that change is necessary, and that, these are the steps, and this is, how we're going to do it. And I think letting them know and getting them involved is super important from the beginning.
Yeah. I know, Cheryl, just from personal experience from you and I, we would roll something out to everybody, and not notify our key leaders in our inner circle first. And they were not happy with that,
right,
to put it lightly. So you want to take the time to just get that inner circle, your influencers, in a room and talk about this change, so that you get that small group to buy in on it. And then when you go talk to the larger group, you got all these people already bought into the idea, and it's going to be way easier to get everyone else to buy in as well.
Right. Okay. So we are on, so that was plan. And now the acronym for AHEAD starts with the A, and the A is allow time for acceptance.
Yeah. This is another big one, because Cheryl and I will have great ideas, but we've been thinking about it for about a year. And when we tell everyone, we think everyone's going to be on board and accepting it on minute number one. So it's going to take a little time to seep in and people to digest it and kind of process it a little bit in their minds.
Right. And you really do have to provide clarity. So you have to let them know exactly what you're thinking and the way that you want to make these changes. And we've seen this, Paul, like you were saying, but just because you see the vision does not mean it has been cultivated in everybody's mind, because you've been thinking about it and going back and forth for months and months. And now all of a sudden on day one, you're like, isn't this wonderful? And everyone's like just staring at you, there's crickets. And you're like, oh, well, maybe, so just be aware of that, right? You just have to be aware of that. And then the next one is go ahead and get right into action. So head into action. And that's important.
Yeah. Now, just to be open and honest on this podcast here, Cheryl would jump to this one to start.
Yes, I would. I would not lay out a single thing.
Let's not worry about the plan part.
Yeah.
Or the acceptance part. That. Let's just
listen. There's no reason for clarity. None of that matters. Let's just simply.
Clarity is overrated.
Head into action. It is. Just start doing something. That is absolutely the type of person that I am, and I'm still like.
That's how you used to be.
That's right. Well, and it's so funny because every time I think of it, I think of Paul like grabbing the back of my shirt and like pulling backwards and like holding me still. Don't move, Cheryl. And like, I think I drive him crazy because I'm like, when are we doing this? When are we doing that? When are we getting this done? What's going on? And I go on and on and on. He's like, okay, Cheryl, that's enough. Grab your shirt, hold on. Because it's absolutely true. The only thing I ever want to do is get into action.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's really true. And that's good. Don't take me wrong, but there are some other things that need to be put into place before we jump right into action.
No, and there has to be a balance between the two, because you have to have that awareness that, am I pushing too hard or not hard enough to get things to move forward? So you push a little bit, if you push too hard, obviously that's bad. So, people are.
Well, that's interesting, Paul. I didn't know that there was something like pushing too hard. I thought it's all about pushing as hard as you can. No, thank you for that.
Well, that's for you, but most people don't push hard enough. Most leaders, they got a great idea, let's make this change. And then they don't really push for it. Like as a leader, you got to get people moving to action here sooner or later.
Oh yeah.
And so there's got to be a little push from that leader to make it happen. I think that's lacking a lot out there.
Well, and another thought that I just had was when you own your own business, I mean, how about pushing yourself, right?
Sure.
I mean, you've got to push yourself to get into action also, because it's not always just about getting your team to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah, they're going to follow you. So
Right.
you got to be in action
That's
first. And if you expect them to get in action.
That's
The
exactly right.
E is interesting, Cheryl.
Yeah, it is, because this is not me. I don't do this. I don't do the next one.
Cheryl's Mrs. Optimism.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's all going to work out perfect.
Hey, listen, that's absolutely right. And I don't understand lawyers, because they don't do that. They say they expect every problem in the world to come up and happen. And they've been trained to do that. I never knew that. I didn't know that you could be trained to expect problems, because I've been trained not to expect problems, and there aren't any, and move forward and get into action. Right. And so it's just really interesting to me. But just like it says, and like we know, Paul, motion causes friction.
True.
Right. I mean,
It's all physics right there.
Right. So apparently, the more action, the more friction. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's super good to learn. I'm learning so much on this podcast, Paul. This is just wonderful. Okay. And look at that. There's no way. I'm not even going to say the next one. You can say it. Because I don't.
It's not you. It's think the worst first.
No.
What's that saying? Like something.
No, sir.
Hope for the best,
but expect the worst.
But expect the worst. So yeah, right. So
no,
I heard that a million times in my life.
That's a pessimist. My husband does this. This is exactly what he does. And he's a great leader. He really is. But I'm telling you right now, think the worst first. That's exactly right. And let me tell you, we
he still hopes for the best though.
How can you expect the worst and hope for the best? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
There is some optimism there. We're hoping for the best, but we're expecting the worst.
No. I don't even see how you can expect the worst and live your life. I always expect the best from myself, from everyone. I just expect the best. I expect the best thing to happen. If I expected the worst thing to happen, then I would walk around, oh dear, oh no, oh, something's gonna happen. Oh, the tree's gonna fall in my backyard while I'm in the pool. Oh, and I might drown. And then, I don't even see how people can live like that.
Well,
I can't wrap my head around it.
So what we used to do is roll things out and then wouldn't think about, well, what obstacles could we run into? We would just get hit by them like a sledgehammer. And then we have to deal with them at that time.
Paul, what are you talking about? There aren't going to be any obstacles.
When they do show up, which they always have showed up.
Oh gosh. I know. I don't understand it, Paul. Seriously.
But now that I think ahead, I plan ahead, use this acronym, I can think of, okay, what obstacles could happen? And I've gotten so good now at this that because I could see that happening in the future, I actually address it now before it actually happens and diffuse that thing. So it never does happen.
So I'm perfectly right in not expecting the worst.
As long as you know what's coming up and you diffuse it right now.
I know. But honestly, I cannot wrap my head around that.
Well, the next one you're really good at, Cheryl.
Always point to your successes. Okay, always point to your successes.
I did this and this and this and that.
No, I'm super good at pointing to other people's successes too, because that's very important.
That's how you're wired. But most people are wired the exact opposite way. What they're going to point to is your failures.
That could be absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to be your own cheerleader in this situation where, hey, listen, I've done this, this, and this. So it's always keeping that buy-in going from everybody so that when things do go rough, they still look at you as the leader and that we know there's going to be challenges and we're going to handle them because everything's figure outable.
That's exactly right. And Paul, I think one of your favorites is review daily. You have to, review daily your progress.
Yeah. And it's so, it's easy to say this isn't moving along fast enough because I'm like that, like daily, still to this day. But I document and I can see, okay, well, we've made all this progress. We've done this, and this. So so I feel better. So you really, if you don't daily document the wins, and I love, so actually my day starts the night before. So yes, last night or before I called quits for the day, I thought of what are the 3 wins I want to have tomorrow, which is today, which has completely changed my life. So now I'm thinking about these 3 wins I'm going to have tomorrow. When I wake up, I already got them planned out, and I just need these 3 big wins, 3 things that would move the ball forward. And even if you just get one of them done, at least you made some progress today. You get all 3 done, you feel like a rock star. So I love people. They always say like, Paul, I'm working really, really hard, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And I say to them, well, where'd you want to go? They're like, well, I don't know. If you don't know where you want to go, what successes you want to have, it's super, you have to set up the rules for success. Like what would be a successful day today? What would be something that could make progress, and write those 2 or 3 things down and then focus on those things and then, really review them and say, hey, did we do these 3 things and did we accomplish these things? And then set 3 big things for tomorrow. What are your 3 big rocks that you want to accomplish tomorrow?
Yeah, I love that. And and I think that's why it's super important too, to keep that journal, right? Just to write down the things that, the great things that have happened, right? The great things that have happened and that you've got done, daily. So exactly what you're saying, so you can see the progress. That is super important.
Yeah, it's really, I know, Cheryl, we've done so many of these things, and when it's all said and done and everyone is super successful and everyone, the big party and, everything looks awesome, but we can look back at those journals and those days and like the whole ride hasn't been that smooth, hasn't been like today. We had to go through some bumps and bruises to get to this point, but it's always worth it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
So again, throughout this whole thing, while we're planning ahead, is you're always remembering the law of the buy-in, that people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. So it's constantly, keeping that in mind and getting people to buy into you. And Cheryl, if you just wrap this up, I mean, I love this podcast. I mean, I love this ultimate test, and it's something that, so we took was it a strength test, wasn't it?
Yes.
What are your top strengths? So mine was competitive, was my number 1 thing. So whenever I see ultimate test or challenge or something like that, it's my brain lights up. So I love this podcast.
I think mine is that I include everybody. I'm an includer.
Yeah.
Which is,
we'll have to fix that.
No, that's what it's all about, right? I absolutely love this too. And I just love that really, I mean, I felt my whole life that I wanted to help other people. That's really what I felt like my whole entire life. And to be able to have, over the last 27 years, created a business where that's exactly what I do every single day. And I can mentor other people to do the same. I mean, it has been the most incredible blessing in my life to be able to, create the positive change in my life and then literally turn around and help others do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the biggest blessing.
Yep. It's all about creating positive change in your life and the lives of other people. So that's your test right now, to go out and do that. And we'll be here with you every step of the way. And we have some great podcasts coming up that will help you really pass this test with flying colors. So awesome podcast, Cheryl.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Keep elevating your life. We'll talk to you soon.